Okay. It's Tuesday, November 5th, a, a day that will go down in history somehow or another, depending on where you sit with this whole thing that's happening. I don't know a single person who is feeling like really good and calm about anything today. So it's a pretty pervasive experience, this election chaos. And what I'm realizing is what's really driving this is an underlying fear of being out of control. And the truth of the matter is we're no more or less in control or out of control now than we were yesterday or a week ago. So it's very and yet today feels like this, this big decision point. Um, And the mind has this tendency to really, obviously, the negativity bias has us perseverate on the negativity and the fear and the stress of, oh my gosh, what may happen? Will it go this way or that way? And I suspect both sides are feeling it on some level. So we're all in this as humans. And it made me think of this quote by one of my heroes, Marie Curie. Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less. And so there's a I think a bit of a warrior, like a spiritual warrior mentality that that is worth activating here, which just says, okay, life is happening and maybe it's not happening, or I'm afraid that it's not going to happen in alignment with what I would like it to do. But that doesn't mean that I need to get completely consumed by this or feel like my entire day is fraught with this distraction and this anxiety. And so I thought today we'd do this meditation on one of my favorite questions that I ask myself many times a day, which is who would you be without this thought or that thought? So hopefully this will make more sense as we go through the meditation. But just know there's a little bit of a an experiment to conduct here in terms of noticing what thoughts are present for us and just getting clear about what's causing the distress. So let's start by closing our eyes. And maybe to activate our parasympathetic nervous system, let's do a few rounds of 4-7-8 breathing. So again, inhaling to a count of 4, holding that inhale for a count of 7, and then a slow exhale to a count of 8 through the mouth. So let's go ahead and inhale, 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Slowly pushing the air out of your mouth. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's start over. In, 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and out through the mouth. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's do one more. So in through the nose. 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and out through the mouth. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And just relax. Letting the body breathe on its own. Noticing the body sitting in a chair, feet on the ground. Air around us in contact with the skin, our hands and face. If we just stay embodied and don't get carried away by the thoughts in our head, there's a real simplicity to here and now. The body, sitting, breathing. One of my mentors always said, we're either standing, sitting, or laying down. Everything else is just a story. Having said that, it's true that we live in a perpetual story. The brain is a story making machine. It converts all of these sensory and other inputs into narratives so we can make sense of the world, and we can, this is what let our ancestors survive. They could communicate, learn lessons from the past and bring them forward. So I'm not knocking stories, but it's good to know and be mindful of the fact that this is actually what's going on. And there's an infinite number of stories that, depending on who we are and where we come from and what our past experiences were, the mind is going to spin up stories about today, what it all means, what's going to happen because of decisions that are made today. Some of them may actually transpire, most of them won't. The future is going to be different than we can even imagine it to be. So, right now, see if you can drop into the space of simply noticing the activity of the mind as it relates to this election. Noticing if there are any beliefs about how things need to be or work out. What will happen if they don't? Just getting clear on the mechanics of the scared mind, the anxious mind. Not bad, it is. And see if there's any belief or two, specific thoughts about today and what this means that are causing you distress. You just keep them to yourself, and so you can really just be as judgmental and as raw as you want to. Don't censor yourself. Connect with the judgments freely. And notice how believing this thought or this judgment, notice how that registers in the body. Like, where in the body do you experience this fearful thought or this stressful belief? See if you can play the thought experiment of just asking yourself, who would I be in this moment without this thought? If there's something about your biology or something that just didn't permit you to even be able to think the stressful thought, what are you left with? And sometimes that's a challenging thought experiment. So I'll see if I can make it a little bit easier for you. So I want you to think back to a time recently. Maybe you were having a meal that you were really enjoying, or a pleasant conversation with someone, or watching a movie. Some recent memory where you weren't thinking this stressful thought about this election and the outcome. And just notice yourself there. That's you without the stressful thought. And just notice what it's like to not be thinking this specific stressful thought in that moment. Notice how the body feels in that moment, the mind, your mood, your attitude. These unexamined, unquestioned stories and narratives that the brain is subject to can cause wreak such havoc to our well-being. And so this is an invitation to simply notice that when you start feeling scared, when you start feeling upset, there's a belief underneath that. If you can identify the belief with a thought, you can simply pose that question and say, who would I be without this thought? And just see what happens. Just get curious. And take a deep breath in. Long, slow exhale through the mouth. Letting go. Take another deep breath in through the nose. Long exhale through the mouth. And go ahead, open your eyes. Come on back to the session. Um, Again, this is easier said than done, but it falls, I think, really squarely into this domain that we practice here, which is just with ongoing practice of just posing that question: who would I be without this stressful thought? I think it gets easier and easier. And like I said, this is a question I ask myself many times a day, and it's a pretty effective way of dispelling some attachments to stress. So hope that was a helpful uh, concept or idea practice, and hope to see you tomorrow. Take care of yourselves, everyone.